And by the end of this video, I will show you how to overcome your ego. So without further ado, let's get to it. If you don't know what makes you unique, if you don't know who you're destined to be, then there's no way you'll be able to pinpoint what you're on this planet to do. Hey guys, jump in here. If this is your first time visiting my channel, make sure you click on the subscribe button and also click on the bell so you get every video that I put up. This is great content to help you become the best version of yourself. And by the end of this video, you will be able to overcome that ego and become your most authentic self. And here's something about your ego. You develop that ego because it helps you fit into society. Let's just be honest. When you act the way that you're usually accepted by most people or that you fit into society, that is not necessarily who you are. You kind of adapt to what the world is accepting and what the world will take. And you create that ego self, that personality that is ego-based in order for you to fit into society. It's not necessarily who you are. And that's no fault of your own because we're social beings. As human beings, we're very social. We thrive more when we're around people, when we have connections with people, when we have relationships with people. As human beings, we thrive more because of that. And that is no fault of your own that you desire to fit in. And as a result, you may develop this ego in order to fit in. It helps you fit into the world, yes, but it does not serve your growth. It does not serve your soul. So you end up feeling unfulfilled. You end up feeling unhappy because you just don't want to be that person that people perceive you to be, because your higher self and your authentic self just wants to come out. Because I believe that as human beings, one of our greatest wishes is that people just see us for who we are and just accept us that way, right? And a good way for you to understand what I mean is that let's think about when you're out with your friends, when you're out around people, the way you behave, that's your adapted personality, your adapted ego. And when no one is around and you're at home, you're doing whatever the heck you want to do, whatever that feels right to you. You can walk around the house and yell and scream and dance and just let loose and feel free and feel so alive and feel so authentic and not feel judged. That is your true authentic self. That is your higher self. In those moments is when you really thrive, is when you really get to experience this existence as authentically and as best as you can, compared to when you're out with people, when you're out around family, when you're out around your spouse or your kids. You have to take on this personality that you think that you have to do because the world told you that you needed to be. But our wish really is that we want to be our real selves everywhere. If the world could just accept us, that would be the most fulfilling thing ever. And this is something that I will show you in this video, because it's not up to the world to do that for you. It is up to yourself to accept yourself so much and love yourself so much and be at peace with everything that you are, that the world considers to be weird, and love that and just accept that as your uniqueness, because you are the standard, you are the scale. It cannot be compared to anyone else. It cannot be weighed against anyone else. The reason why people weigh themselves and compare themselves and compete and get so selfish and focus on only doing stuff that only gains the self, which is the ego, is because people are raised in an environment that is like that. But here's the thing about the ego though, the more you become aware of it, the less you want to be egotistical, the less you want it in your life, the more authentic you want to be. And my videos are all connected, and it helps you go into this journey where you really get to know who you are and find out who is this being that you, by whatever name you call yourself, who is that person really? Who is that existence really? And when you get to know that authentically, you want to show that to the world because you spend so much time and so much effort going within yourself and finding out who that true being is and expressing that to the world. And when you do that with the ego as well, you would want to let that authentic self out. And I'm going to be sharing with you 4 things that you can do in order to overcome that ego self that you are. The first thing is that you need to admit that you don't know everything, right? That is very humbling. Why am I saying that? I'm saying that because from a young age, like we grow up in an environment, we have our parents that nurture us from a young age. So we have a lot of affection for them. If it's not our parents, it could be our guardians, it could be our uncles and our aunties that took care of us. Whoever that took care of us as a kid, we grow a certain sort of attachment because of that dependency that we had as a kid in order to survive. And a lot of the beliefs gets passed down to us as well in that time. And that's what we shape our reality with. But what we need to understand is that that is only one spectrum of what the humanity is. That is only that person's perspective of life on this earth. And we need to be able to accept that that's not everything. Because the reason why people get so overcommitted to their beliefs is because they are not open enough. They're not open-minded enough to discover what other people's beliefs are. They don't want to learn about other people. They think that everything that they know is it. And so they overcommit to that. And not in a bad way, but it's only because they care so much about the people that gave them these beliefs that they also overcommit to these beliefs and become dependent on these beliefs, right? That is the first step. Being able to acknowledge that everything that you know may not be the truth, that you could be wrong. And that's perfectly okay. 2 is you need to question everything that you believe from your childhood and things that you've grown up to believe. You always have to question, why do you believe the things that you believe? Why do you have faith in Christianity or Hinduism, in Buddhism? Why do you believe that you have to do things a specific kind of way? Why do you believe things have to be the way that they are in your life right now? Really ask yourself, where did that come from? What purpose does it serve? And how does that connect with who you are inside? Does that make you feel like you're growing, or does that restrict you from actually being your true self? Here's an example of how a belief can get passed down to generations and become something that people just do because they care about the people that taught them how to do that, but they don't necessarily understand why they're doing that, right? There was a woman that always cut a fish. Like whenever she decided to cook a fish, she would cut the head and the tail and cook it that way, right? And then one day at dinner, she finally decided to ask herself, like, why do I actually do that, right? So she asked a mother who was actually there with them, and she asked her, like, Mom, why do we always have to cut the head and the tail of the fish? She goes, I don't know. How about we call your grandmother, because she's the one that taught me how to cook the fish that way. So they called the grandmother, and the grandmother is like, oh, wow. The reason why I used to do it like that is because my pan was too small to fit the whole fish in when I fried it. So I had to kind of cut the head and cut the tail so that little piece of fish would be able to fit into my small pan. But guess what? The kids were living in a time where the pan could fit the whole fish. But for some weird reason, they still cut the head and the tail of the fish. That's an example of how beliefs can get passed down through generation, and people don't actually question, like, okay, why do I believe this stuff that I believe? But they're actually just doing it. And I get it, like in a lot of cultures, like it's considered wrong when you start questioning the beliefs that you have, because a lot of people like care about their parents and care about their elders, and they feel like by doing that they're disrespecting them. But in the same sense, it's like you have to ask yourself, are you going to really live a life based on beliefs that someone else never really understood but forced you to believe in a non-threatening way? By raising you, they force you to believe these things, and now you're gonna live your whole life limiting your full potential, limiting your full growth, because you want to make someone else happy. Like, they got to live their life their way. Why should you have to limit your growth? Why should you have to limit your potential because you want to live a life that will satisfy someone else? Step number 3, you need to surround yourself with people that do not share your point of views. Now, I'm not talking about critics. I'm not talking about haters. To a certain extent, once you understand this concept, you will see that even haters and critics are useful, because there's always a form of truth in what they're saying. But surround yourself with people that will give you the opposite of your beliefs and the opposite of your opinions. What does that do? It keeps you open-minded, first of all. It's going to allow you to look at your blind spots, because we all have them. We think that we know everything, because you also have to understand that you may know everything based on what you know. Now, the question is what you know everything that there is to know about this life, everything there is to know about this world, everything there is to know about your existence? Possibly not. So you also have to surround yourself with people that know things that you don't, and let them share that with you. Let them call you out on stuff like that in a positive way. I'm not talking about people that will, use that as a manipulative way to break you down, to make you feel less confident, to make you feel less of a person. But people that use that in a loving, constructive, non-threatening, non-argumentative, non-aggressive way, non-physically abusive way, definitely non-physically abusive and non-traumatic, right? Have people around you help you question the things that you believe. People that would tell you the things that you don't want to tell yourself. Because I can assure you that as people, it's very hard for us to look at the other side of the veil, the thing that we don't feel like makes us feel good, the thing that we don't feel like we agree with or our environment doesn't agree with. It is extremely hard to do that for ourselves. So having a healthy environment of people that can call you out on your nonsense, that can call you out when you're wrong, is very healthy. And don't take that as a way to hate everybody else just because people don't agree with you. Having adversity is the best way to grow. You can't grow unless you have adversity. So surround yourself with an healthy group of people that are diverse, but also people that don't share your beliefs, people that will bring a little bit of adversity to the things that you believe. Because think about it this way: if the thing that you believe cannot stand into an argument or a debate against someone that doesn't share the same belief, then is it really worth you committing your whole life to it if it's not true? Because there is one absolute truth that applies to all people, right? So you have to understand that if you commit into something that is not necessarily true, you can attach to it because you love the person that taught you that thing, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's the right thing for you. That leads me to the fourth step. The fourth step is understanding and accepting. You have to be able to accept when your beliefs are wrong. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. It's called evolution, right? If you look at us as we are here today, with the results of people that adapted, you have to adapt. If you find out that something that you believed your whole life was wrong, why are you gonna waste the rest of your life continuing to believe in it because you just spent your whole life believing this thing? So you're like, okay, my parents taught me this and it turned out to be wrong, and I'm gonna continue to believe it, right? Like, here's an example. I grew up in Africa, and in Africa they tell us whenever you get into your car, you have to start your car and let it warm up for about 1 to 5 minutes. And that is supposed to make your engine run better. And I moved to America, and I find myself every morning turning on my car and sitting in it for like 1 to 5 minutes. So I Googled it just to find out that it actually serves no purpose at all. Like, your car actually warms up better when you're driving it than when you're actually sitting in your car just warming it up. That's another example of how, when I realized that, I kind of had to humble myself enough and accept that, you know what, this is a wrong belief that I adapted, and it's okay to let it go because I need to evolve, I need to grow, and I need to blossom, right? Because I believe that there is no way to really take out the bad and keep the good, and there's no way to only have the good and take away the bad. There's always perfect balance. When you have balance of good and bad, you're able to live and thrive. Not just live, but you're able to thrive. And I get it, it's 2020. A lot of people are like, yeah, you gotta be positive vibes only, hashtag no negative, hashtag no haters. I get all of that, that's fine. But you gotta understand that without the negativity, you will never appreciate the positivity. Without the darkness, you will never appreciate the light. Without the bad, you will never appreciate the good. So you just have to understand that it's not so much about being in one specific place. It's not so much about being either right or wrong. It's not about being good or bad. It's about finding the perfect balance where you can navigate yourself back between right and wrong. When you do wrong, you're able to acknowledge that and find the source of why you did the wrong and adjust and adapt. And when you do right, you're also able to adjust and see where you could have gone wrong, right? That is maturity, emotional maturity, spiritual maturity. In that state, when you're able to do that and maneuver your life that way, you will blossom and you will grow. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. My goal is to help you understand these concepts and these notions about the self, about how to become the best version of yourself. These are the things that have worked for me in my life, and hence I am much more happier, I am much more fulfilled, and I want to be able to share that with you. And if you can share that with a family member, if you can share that with a friend, go ahead and do so. Why not? help someone else be free of the pain and the suffering and the beliefs and the chains that were passed down generation to generations. And if you desire to become the best version of yourself like me, join me, subscribe to my channel, click on that subscribe button, click on that bell. I'll be dropping more videos. I have some guests coming to the channel as well. They will be sharing their ideas, people of different backgrounds, people of different beliefs, to help you see what it's like to come to a middle ground, to come to a balanced ground. Because life and existence is all about balance. You cannot thrive without balance, and understanding both sides is the way to go. For me, it has worked. It has helped me be more clear about what I believe and what I have to stand on. Not everything has absolute proof, but you have to believe to something. The best that you can do is find the best knowledge that you can find on everything that you choose to believe, both the right and the wrong, and find where you fit in. Find what authentically resonates with you. Hey, I hope this video was helpful to you. Until next week.